Now, the question is, do we have audio? We do! Hooray! Hala! Not sure why I did that. Well, hello, welcome to the stream. Happy Wednesday. Or what was it? What was it? Ah, yes, I figured that was who was there. What was it you said in the Discord? Happy time zone? Yeah, that's welcome to my life for the past 2 decades almost. Especially when you add in that I have friends and family. Oh, Dinneretta! Hi. What is that emote? I thought it was a Kirby. It is a Kirby. Hello, Kirby. Is that a Kirby or is it a Jigglypuff? I can't tell. I should know the difference, but mostly from Super Smash Bros. Yeah, I've got friends and family spread out all over the damn place, so Canada with 4 or 5 different time zones, and I've got people in all of them, and friends from here that have spread out over other parts of Asia and Europe, back to Europe. So, yeah. I mean, on the plus side, at any part of the day, if I happen to be awake, somebody else I know is also awake, but hard to get a bunch of people together at one time these days. So, hmm. Yeah. So today is kind of cool actually cuz I'm mostly caught up on I know I've said this before, but mostly caught up on my client work, on most of my personal projects and other things that I'm working on. So, oh, female writer, you've reached level 2, gugu, on the Discord. I don't I don't know even know why I put that on, but I figure. Oh, I'm planning to set up a role called OG or something like that for everyone who's been in the Discord the first month or so. That way, if it ever does pick up and people join and it becomes popular and stuff, there'd be a small group of people that have been there from the beginning. OGs. Og. Og. I was here before words. Og. So. Oi. Tiana. Oh, Tiana. So, yeah, no, I'm mostly caught up. I got a bunch of stuff done yesterday. Think I've hit upon a relatively okay strategy for triaging my work. I find after I stream for 2 hours or so, and I tend to do a lot of talking on my stream, which I probably should be doing more writing, but whatever. My voice is done. I don't have the endurance left over after 2 solid hours, sometimes 3, to narrate things and do client work. I get all gravelly and it's phlegmy and I have to. Normally, I can go 45 minutes up to an hour between breaks. Do 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off, and I'm fine. I can go most of the day that way. Or at least I used to be able to. Certainly do 3 or 4 rounds of that without too much difficulty. But after a stream, on streaming days, I find that I don't have that endurance. I can go maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I start to deteriorate. So yesterday I got a bunch of recording done, and today I will get a bunch of editing done. Normally I try and do a 24-hour turnaround for most of my clients, depending on the size of the project, obviously. I can't do a whole novel in a day, but I think I might have to move to a 24 or 48-hour if I'm going to fit all the other stuff in that I want to fit in. So But yeah, I recorded. What did I record yesterday? Actually, what did I? Yeah, yesterday I had a bunch of stuff, a bunch of interesting things happen. I finished writing that first book club companion book that I mentioned, the summary and discussion of, which I mean, yeah, not the most original idea in the world, but hopefully I bring something original to it. I finished writing that a couple days ago. Yesterday I figured out the compile section of Scrivener 3, and which is very different from the old. I'm on Windows, so I was using Scrivener 1.9 was the most recent version up, just in it's the most recent version before 3 was released. So big jump, big changes, very little of the same. And I had a couple of things that just weren't working for me with compile. I had in the character summary setting, the character summary section, I wanted to have centered headings for each of the characters and then their description underneath it. And it was not working at all. I could not get it to go. I had the character names centered in the editor, but it wouldn't compile that way. I could not make it compile that way. And I eventually realized what I had to do was have separate documents for each character as subdocuments to the character section document, and then have a separate formatting style for those documents. I had to set up a different style to call those documents and have the title of the document be the name of the character. And yeah, so I figured it out eventually. It took me a few hours to get the compile the way I wanted it to. And I also recorded the audiobook version of that book yesterday, which I will have to edit today and then publish. I discovered yesterday that a very good way to proofread your book, whatever it happens to be, is to narrate the audiobook version of it. I found so many typos. It was funny. I mean, I wrote it in a hurry and I didn't really copy edit it at all. I'm not the best copy editor in the world anyway, but attention to detail thing always gets me. And reading is not a conscious activity for me. Hasn't been since I was a very small child. So when I read, I don't notice the words I don't notice the text on the page after the first, I don't know, 3 letters. And so for me to rewire myself to copy edit text takes an awful lot of effort, and I often don't bother. So anyway, yeah, I found lots and lots of typos. And then a couple more after that when I was fixing the typos I found in the first place. So who knows how many are still in there? Could be hundreds. Yeah. Yeah, well, they always say you read it out loud, and not only do you find all the typos and stuff, or a lot of them, you'll identify parts where the prose doesn't flow the way it should, or where the dialogue is a bit stilted or artificial sounding. I find a lot of people have trouble with dialogue. I don't know, I might be blowing smoke up my own butt, but I think that's one of my strong points is actually my dialogue. The voices of my characters tend to, I think they come through fairly well. Maybe it's just my voice, but I don't think so. But yeah, I don't ever want to spend the time doing that, though. That's the problem. I'm always in a hurry. So, but if I'm doing an audiobook version anyway, I decided ahead of time that it would be a good idea to record the audiobook version before I published the text version, because that way I knew I would find typos if they were there. I would find a bunch of problems and I could fix them before I went out the door. So I did that. Worked wonderfully, actually. It was well thought out and well executed plan. I love when a plan comes together. Where's Silent Author to tell me that was an A-Team reference? So yeah, that worked well. Today I'm going to edit that audiobook version and get it out the door. And I also discovered, looking at the book's page on the Kindle store on Amazon, that the cover I put together is horrible. It's just awful. It does not work at all at the size and resolution that the Kindle store uses. It's you can't read it. It just looks muddy and gross. The colors don't work. So I'm gonna have to redesign that a little bit. I think I'm gonna stick with the same overall design, but switch my colors up a bit so that it pops a bit more. Maybe change my font size so it's easier to read. I mean, my initial thought was that it didn't really matter about the legibility of the cover because the name of the book is right next to it in clear text on the website. But you want it to pop. You want it to be visually appealing and stand out and catch the attention and all those things. And it does none of those things at the moment. So back to the old drawing board. Yeah, so I figure I've got about maybe 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours of audio editing that I need to get done today, to do today. Not to mention that old H.P. Lovecraft project I was working on that I have to edit still. The audiobook. I'm a bit sleepy today. Excuse me. And that's about, at the moment, 10 hours of raw audio that I have to go through. Probably about 7 or 8 by the time I cut out the flubs and the mistakes. And then I have to edit that for timing and all that stuff, which takes 1.5 to 2 times the length of the audio to do. So that's about 14, 15 hours of editing there too as well. So I'd like to get that done by the end of next week, actually. I'd really like to. It should have been done a year ago. Actually, it's, yeah, about a year ago. Sorry, my hair is annoying me. And yeah, what else is on the plate? I've got, yes, two or three. Well, I have to check. Yeah, two to do and one to check. So 3 courses that I'm developing for Skillshare and Udemy and all those places. One on voice recording primarily for writers who want to narrate their own audiobooks, introduction to equipment and process and editing and softwares and all those things. Like basically everything you need to get going and figure out what you like to do and how you like to do it. Yeah, primarily for writers who want to narrate their own audiobooks. I guess that would be the main market for that, or the main target student for that. I'm not going to get into any music production or mixing or mastering, anything like that, other than what you need for voice. And another one on keyboards. I mean, I was joking that if I do a course on mechanical keyboards, I can write off my new keyboard as an expense for taxes, but I can do that anyway because I use it to write, and I write for my business. So, but yeah, I'm gonna do the tax write-off class, and I'm gonna do a class on juggling, which is going to be a sneaky. It's actually, I'm planning to do a little sneaky reveal that the way I'm teaching how to juggle in the course is how you learn anything, and if you can apply the same concepts to any skill or anything you want to learn. So I'm going to call it either how to juggle, and then in parentheses, and learn anything, or I'm going to call it how to learn anything, and then in parentheses, and juggle. But I think I'm going to call it how to juggle and learn anything. It sounds more like what I want to do. So, yeah, so today let me take a look here at my list. Chat in the Discord there. Oh, I'm multitasking poorly. What else do I have to do today? Okay, got the Lovecraft stuff. Yes, I got that stuff. Yes. Those two editing things. Yes. The class things. Yeah, and just my regular daily stuff. My elliptical, exercisey stuff. Chinese and piano. Although, admission. Oh, silent author. Hello. uh, how much more do I have to do on this project before the first part is due? Well, I mean, it's directed study, so it's basically between me and the professor to decide when things are due and what the schedule is. I was required to make a tentative schedule, but more guideline than hard and fast deadline per se. Yeah, more guideline than deadline. And I said I wanted to have this first part done by the end of this month, which, according to my schedule, is 2 days from now, which seems unlikely. Seems really unlikely. I'm aiming for around 20 between 20 and 30,000 words, and on my best day, I never hit 10,000 in a day. Well, I mean, I may have nonfiction, but seldom, maybe once in my life. Generally, I capped off at about 5K a day, and that was not that frequent as either. Mostly because I didn't have that much work to do when I was writing freelance before the bottom fell out of the market in terms of pay. So yeah, it seems unlikely. If I could write, say, 3 or 4,000 words a day every day on this, I'd be looking at eight about a week. So yeah, no, I'm honestly, when it's done is the due date on it. So yeah, I mean, fiction and nonfiction are different. I worked for a long time, sort of worked side hustles style worked, doing freelance copywriting, blog posts and training manuals and whatever else people wanted to hire me to do. I can't even remember the name of the site I used anymore. I haven't checked it in a long time, and they change their name every few years for some reason, trying to update themselves and be hip. It wasn't like a dodging the tax man or rebranding ourselves because we screwed up our client base, kind of changing the name. It was variations on the same name, but dropping a vowel or adding a y, that kind of stuff. Like Facebook changing the name of the parent company to Meta. Pretentious dorks. Anyway, yeah, I did that for years and years and years. Like probably 10 solid years of active freelancing as a writer. Did a lot of things, a lot of different things there. Some of the, yeah. And I would do, they wanted most of my regular clients wanted 500 word essays or blog posts for the most part. That was the most common format, was the 500 word blog post. And of course they wanted to maximize their SEO, and they wanted this particular 3-word phrase 1.5% of the time. Ridiculous. But I got really, really good at structuring a blog post. And writing odd phrases into said blog posts in a way that made it read like a person actually wrote it instead of a machine. I mean, they weren't good. Especially the ones with phrases. If it was a word that they wanted me to work in, that was not a problem. Because, I mean, you just make the blog post about that as the subject. But no, I think no, blogs aren't evil. The Borg is evil. Blogs are okay. Yeah, so I mean, you have a 3 or 4 word phrase, and they want it 5 times in a 500-word essay, or 4 times, I guess. It's pretty repetitive, so you got to figure out a way to make it flow better. So challenging but fun. But yeah, occasionally I'd have, 8 or 10 of those in a day that I needed to get done. Not often. Usually it was closer to 4 or 5. So, 2,500 to 3,000 words a day was pretty normal most days. When I had work coming in. It comes and goes when you're freelancing, but I'm also picky with my clients when I freelance, and I'm the same with my voice work now as I was writing. I don't take any work that comes along, even if I don't have any work and I need the money. I really try to only take work that interests me or that pays well enough. There's a lot of bottom of the barrel clients out there on the freelancing websites, just looking to pay bottom dollar for top shelf work, and I don't play that. So generally, I try to cultivate a very small handful of good regular clients. And I had that with the writing. There's a plastic surgeon, a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon that I wrote for a couple of years, actually. I wrote all of his blog posts, and he paid me reasonably well. I think my average overall, my clients was 7 or 8 cents a word. And the going rate on the site that I was using was closer to 3 or 4. So, you pick and choose. At the moment, I've got, this new one, I don't know if they're going to be a regular client or not once this project is over, but I'm guessing they will be. So that'll be 3 regular clients and 1 intermittent regular client. I do documentary voiceover for one client who doesn't need a lot of work done, but every once in a while. So the others are a short nonfiction ebook narration, like about an hour and a bit each, these things, and one YouTube channel that I do, and this Indian audiobook serialization company. So those are my regular voice work clients at the moment. So yeah, I'm feeling, whether I am or not is not relevant, but I'm feeling caught up. I'm feeling like I have a handle on my regular amount of work at the moment, and that's a good feeling. I was able to fall asleep relatively easily last night, and I feel, yawns aside, relatively well rested this morning. I did, however, forget to roast coffee yesterday, which means I had enough for one cup of coffee today, which was kind of what I was aiming to get down to anyway. But and then instead of my rooibos tea in my thermos today, I have Earl Grey, which is also caffeinated. So we shall see how well that works. But I do like me some Earl Grey. I made this a bit strong, though. It's the same color as my coffee. Earl Grey shouldn't be quite that dark, I don't think. Yeah, Earl Grey. Is it Twinnings or Twinings? I want to say Twinings, because Twinnings would be 2 N's, right? Yeah. So that. Yes, Captain Picard drinks Earl Grey. Patrick Stewart does not. He drinks Yorkshire Gold, I believe, which I've never tried. But Earl Grey is sort of my go-to as my default tea if I want tea, but I don't have a particular preference for what kind. Earl Grey, it's a solid go-to. Lady Grey is good too. mean, I'm not too picky when it comes to tea, if I'm honest, but one of my favorites in the Twinings universe is the orange and cinnamon tea, which I quite like. That's a perky little tea that I feel picks me up a little bit better than others, and I like the flavor. Orange and cinnamon, can't go wrong. I wish I liked green tea much better than I do. I live in Hangzhou, which is the home of Dragon Well tea, which is a very famous in China tea. Playing with my switch. This switch was not registering very well in my keyboard, so I pulled it out and put a different one in. And now that key works great. Dragon Well, yeah. I was playing around with an idea for some sort of a clever, witty Twitter or a Facebook post or something. Sorry, little eye pokey eyelash there. But it's a text-based play on words, so I will type it in the chat. I'm not a something like that. I'm play on words between bookworm and bookworm. Hey. Well, welcome to the stream, Mez09. Is it Mez09 or Mez9? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. The mezzo as in like mezzo soprano? Oh, shush your face. It's just Mom. Come here. Come here, say hi. Come here. I got you. Oh, big stretch. Big stretch. I've got company today in my office. Say hello, puppers. Look over there. Look over there. See that thing? What's that thing? What's that thing there? Say hi. Say hi. Oh, you're very warm. Give me high fives. High five. Oh, there's a nice high five. Show it for the camera. High five. Thank you. Okay. Get some eyebrow scratches. Yeah, she's pretty fluffy. Her name is Xiao Xue, which means small snow or little snow or light snow. I call her lesser snow. Oh. I got itchy tummy. Itchy tummy? Okay, okay, okay. Snuggle, snuggle. I don't know if I want to mess around with multiple cameras on the stream. She doesn't like to hang around too much when I'm writing anyway. Well, I mean, if I'm home by myself, she will stay in here. But generally only if I keep my door open. And it's really cold still. You can't have my dog. She's my dog. Oh, scratch, scratch. She is a Bichon Frise. She's reasonably smart and relatively naughty. She knows a bunch of tricks, but she won't stop going in the garbage and eating her own poop, so, you know. Clever, but dumb. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Itchy leg. Okay. Oh. And I see that the internet is cutting in and out again. Okay. Yeah, I know you wanted to go out. You want to go out, don't you? Okay. All right, down you go. I'll be back in a moment. Yes, I'll let you out. Okay, you go see what Mom's doing. You go. Okay. Okay. No, she cannot travel through. Well, she can travel through space and time, but uh, one direction only through time and space, mostly two dimensionally. Occasionally, she jumps up on the couch. So yes, she can travel through space and time, but only in the same ways that all of us can. Uh, she is cute at the moment. She's a bit gross. She needs to go to the groomers and get cleaned up and trimmed and things. She's been a long time without a groomer. And I mean, I don't mind bathing her at home and stuff, but Bichons they have sensitive skin. It's the dumbest breed of dog I've ever, well, I mean, aside from bulldogs and pugs, dumbest breed of dog I know of. She's got allergies to damn near everything, so she gets itchy, really easily. And we have to be careful what kind of food we get for her and all that. So that's fine. Also, her skin is irritated by water. So if she stays wet for too long, she gets a rash and gets really itchy, and then she scratches herself raw, and it's horrible. So, oh, and she's one of those breeds of dogs that, like, oh, she doesn't have fur, she has hair. So, yeah, when we bathe her, she has to be blow dried dry, relatively quickly so that she doesn't get itchy. And we have to be careful what shampoo we use. We have to use special shampoo for her, and pain in the butt. Takes 2 to 3 hours to wash and dry her at home. The groomer has a special table and all the equipment and stuff, and they're optimized for efficiency. It takes them maybe half an hour, but like solid 2 hours here, and that's if I have an extra pair of hands. So the only place we have for her to be washed is in the shower. It's a stand-up shower, which means I have to get in there with her, and yeah. Anyway, so we take her to the groomer. Um, I don't want to break. Maybe that's why my stream is acting up because the dog was on it. What are we doing here? Yeah, so it cut out there. Seems to be okay now. Checking the Discord again. What's in the box? That's almost a UHF reference. Weird Al's movie. Except that's, I'll take the box. I'll take the box. And then I guess Cooney says, what's in the box? And it's nothing. And then, yeah. There is a relatively tacky, well, it's not really a Japanese an impression of a Japanese accent because the actor playing the part is Japanese, but it's still a bit of a caricature, slightly in poor taste. Certainly wouldn't play these days. Uh, well, we know what's in that box. In the movie Seven. Oh. Although, given Frank's story, that might be more appropriate. So, yeah, you know where Frank is. I'm not answering any Frank questions today. And Mezzo9, you wanted to know what we do on this stream? This is pretty much it. I pretend to try and write, and we chat about random stuff. Oh yeah, and I forgot to change my title and stream information and stuff again. Crying emoji indeed. Now, female writer and Mezzo9 would probably be the best people to ask at the moment. Maybe anytime. I'm currently categorizing my stream as let's do the writing, but I noticed that there's probably more activity in writers. Which one should I go with? I was thinking I might switch over to writers for my writing streams just because it might make it's easier to find me. Yeah, I figured. I mean, I almost don't want to be found at this point because I kind of like the stream when it's nice and small and you only have a few people at a time. Five. I think the most we've ever had chatting at once is like 7 or 8 people, and it's manageable. It's like a small dinner party or cocktail party where we can chat and there's back and forth and stuff. If I end up with like 30 people in the chat, I don't know. I would probably get more writing done. You bunch can amuse yourselves while I get stuff done. I don't know. It'd be a different feel. I've kind of grown used to this. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I know it would be nice to have an actual category instead of like shoehorning myself into some sort of game that isn't really a game that no one's ever heard of. Um, that was an issue I encountered when I was setting things up in the first place. Yeah. So, I do have to say though, if I don't actually start getting down to business and getting some writing done, I may have to stop streaming altogether. The whole point of this was to give me a scheduled time to write that I was going to stick to because there's external expectations and stuff. Not that I generally give a flying fig about external expectations, but well, I will see if I can find that and make it 901. Oh, it's searchable. There we go. There's like 2 or 3 different. Oh, there's yours. I found it. Oh, it wasn't. It didn't log me in. Okay. There's a podcast category? Cool. I really know very little about Twitch. I've only been doing this for a couple of weeks. Oh, there's a vote. Yes, I will vote. Voted. I don't think I'll comment. I don't really have much to add to the conversation there. Voted. Okay. So, that's a comment, is it? I see. I spent a lot of time yesterday kind of noodling around in Scrivener 3 to figure out where stuff is and how stuff works and what's available. Watched all of the video tutorials from the Literature and Latte site. And yeah, I had about 25 tabs open from Scrivener Virgin? I think that was unfortunately a named website. Which admittedly is mostly a sales pitch for the red pen editing technique. Contact me now to learn how. But some useful information on there, I suppose. What I ended up doing was just going in and I'd queued up all those tabs to read through and figure out how to do what I wanted to do, and then I said, no, screw this. I'm just going to figure it out. So I went into the compile settings and took a look around, and when something didn't work the way I thought it should, I Googled it to find out why and got to where I wanted to go that way, more or less. And then I went through all those tabs and decided whether I still needed to read it or not, and the vast majority of them I did not. So I ended up reading maybe 3 or 4 of those blog posts out of the 30 or so. But, yeah. So what I wanted to do before I got into the weeds here, I don't need bookmarks. No, I think I don't really want this either. Yeah, delete that. Oh, I see. I see. I just made that. The problem I'm encountering here is that this, I mean, it's small on the screen, on the stream screen up there, as is the text here. But it's small on my screen too, so I mean, I've got to kind of like go off camera to read it almost. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Snapshots. Interesting. I might have to take a look at that function, although I doubt I'll use it much. Keywords, yes, I read about those. And bookmarks. So bookmarks I need to find out about too. I made a little list of topics I want to read up more on or find out more about in Scrivener 3. So I found out there's actually some fairly robust editing functions in Scrivener 3. You can comment, you can, there's revision mode. You know, does it show? No, it doesn't show my menus because I've got it set to window rather than screen. I suppose I could change it to screen. I don't know if it's worth, it would be worth doing for tutorials and stuff. I guess I should probably do that. But there's a revision mode that lets you, it changes the color of any text you add and tracks which text is in what color, so you can do things to everything in that color and stuff. So you can go first, second, third, fourth, fifth revision, basically. That was a new bit of information for me. I didn't know that existed. So, so you can actually use Scrivener for editing, and you could have someone edit you could hire someone to edit or obtain an editor. If they use Scrivener, they can just use your project file natively and then send it back to you, rather than having to go into Word and stuff for track changes. You can actually effectively track changes in Scrivener, which is glorious. And there's keyword searching, but you have to set the keywords, and I'm not sure I want to bother doing that. I'm not sure how useful it would be, but this is not a terribly complex story from a plot perspective, from a narrative structure perspective. There's not not a lot of interaction between the storylines, and there's not an awful lot of characters either. It's not like a huge cast of characters. It's not like an epic fantasy novel or Wheel of Time or something. 15 main characters, some of whom don't appear in a particular book because we're dealing with all of the other main characters. Not like that. In that case, I probably would want to track scenes by character and have keywords for various events and types of things happening and make it searchable and all that stuff. But for this, no. I think I'm okay. So, I think that what I'm going to do, because I want to build tension in this scene. All right, that's what I was going to do. All right, so in the notes section, I try to write a little note to myself telling me what the purpose of this scene is, what I want. Oh, sorry, what I want to accomplish in the scene. Where is my scene list? That's not it. That's not it. So, okay, yeah. So that is useful at the moment. Not really. So many papers. Oh yeah, I gotta do that too. Research to do for this. And then, that goes over there. I'm also supposed to put together an annotated bibliography for this. Oh yeah, 2:30 a.m. Oh, you are in the UK, I'm guessing, or somewhere thereabouts, time zone wise, possibly Portugal or France. Are you in France? Est-ce que tu parles français? Anyway, oh, and yeah, and we're Britland. Yeah, I'm from Canada myself. As you can probably tell if I say a boot or oat, go outside. My sister posted a little screenshot of her phone on Facebook today with her weather app, and it's minus 40 something degrees Celsius outside. Ah, je parle aussi. Plus qu'un peu, mais ça fait longtemps. J'ai pas utilisé, j'ai pas parlé. J'ai presque tout oublié là. And I also speak French with I'm told, with a very très mignon Québécois accent. But, yeah. J'ai essayé de cultiver un accent européen, but it doesn't work very well when I try it. So, old habits die hard. I should probably brush up my French. Get it back to functional. As an indication of how messed up my brain is, I spent 3 months living in Quebec on an exchange in high school, and that's sort of where I really learned French. I mean, I've been told I speak Spanish with a French accent. So yeah, one of the YouTube channels I narrate for, they've been doing a lot of videos with a lot of Mexican names in them. And there was a bunch of criticism on one of the videos that I was pronouncing all of the names with a French accent, which I thought was hilarious because I was. Yeah. Yeah, we learned French in school, but it's school French. My Spanish is non-existent, but when I have to narrate summaries of like the Narcos show or whatever, and there's a bunch of Spanish names and Spanish place names and things, and yeah. So yeah, I did an exchange in high school. Had a guy come and stay with me. A guy, his name was Guy. Come and stay with me for 3 months. Then I stayed with his family for 3 months. So that was that 3 months in Quebec, in rural Quebec, was where I really sort of learned French. And when I came back from that exchange, I couldn't actually speak English anymore. I'd lost the ability to speak English. Took me probably a week, few days to a week to really kind of get back to functional in English again. I was stuck sort of halfway between for a little while too, and couldn't speak anything reliably. And my French wasn't that good. And, you know, realized sometime later that when we thought we were speaking French, like there were a few of us exchange students at that Polyvalente, the high school, and we thought we were all speaking French with each other. We were speaking franglais, very much so. We were mixing them up liberally. But yeah, there was my grandparents spoke French. My mom's first language was French, although I don't think she speaks it anymore. Maybe she's watching. Are you in the chat today, Mom? Who's here? Generetta, feeling right, silent author. Okay, nope. Apple pie chart. Are you a bot or a person? If you're a person, say hi. Yeah, my mom's first language was French. She didn't learn English till she went to school, but she doesn't really speak it anymore. Certainly not much. So when I got back, like at the airport, when everyone picked me up coming home, I had to have my grandparents translate for me because I couldn't remember how to say anything in English. Yeah. Oh, my grammar is horrible. I don't tend to learn languages didactically like that. Well, if you're a writer and your sister's an editor, that sounds like a dynamic duo. Sounds like a powerful combination. As I mentioned earlier, I am absolute garbage at copy editing. I'm terrible at copy editing. Structural editing and developmental editing I'm good at, but oh, and this is really starting to annoy me. Are you guys getting like choppy video? She won't touch your books. It's probably for the best, honestly. You know what they say about working with family. But yeah, no, okay, because I'm I'm getting some weird little dips in my colored square of doom in OBS, and I'm seeing, yeah. So I have, I can't. There's no real easy way to show you guys, but I have on my VPN. There's a sort of a network health. It shows me my traffic basically. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, my VPN shows me the traffic, and it's showing these little notches where it just stops for a second or three and then continues again. No, yes, you were, and then I pulled you back in. I was almost out, and they pulled me back in. So yeah, sorry, I do that. It was nice meeting you. Uh, hopefully, oh yeah, you followed 2 days ago, just so you'd know. Good call. Anyway, my best friend, and I, my high school best friend and I, we're still friends. Still, I don't know if we're best friends anymore, but we're still friends. Um, yep, I suspect that's what's going on too, buffering. But that was our thing for a long time in high school. Anyway, hope you die. Go to hell. Um, so hopefully we'll see you again. Hopefully it'll be more writing and the chat can look after itself one of these days. Although that's not on you guys. That's on me. I can't stay away from a good conversation. Um, well, okay, we look steady now. I'm not going to change servers, but no, I don't think it's too much going on for the bandwidth. I've got ample bandwidth. When I did a speed test, every time I do a speed test, I've got enough bandwidth for 12 streams at my resolution and frame rate. It's my internet. The government here, I live in China for those that don't know, but the government here has recently started a bit of a campaign against VPNs. They've always been illegal, but not enforced and sort of tolerated as long as you don't cause any problems or rabble rouse or what have you. They don't. They haven't historically cared very much. They take minimal effort and they take minimal steps to, squish VPNs in general and the odd specific one specifically. But for the most part, they don't really care what us foreigners do, generally speaking. There aren't enough of us to worry about. And we're not going to be causing any significant problems in terms of like mass movements of, people rising up and that sort of thing. No one's going to follow us anyway. But they don't take kindly to a lot of Chinese people having VPNs, and if one or the other becomes too popular or gets used too much, they squash it. And what they've been doing lately is just coming down on VPNs in general, and I suspect part of that, what they're doing for part of that, is basically forcing a reconnect on internet connections pretty regularly, like every 20 to 30 minutes, if not more often, depending. So that's the impression I have of what's going on based on some just sort of observed behavior of my internet in general. Downloads tend to not work very well. Yeah, the Discord's fine. I mean, as okay as it is at the moment, it's a bit ghost towny still. There's only what eight or nine of us, and most of the people on the Discord pop into the stream chat and chat there anyway. So, I mean, everything that I do on the internet involves being outside of China, internet wise. Um, my I can access my freelance. I most of my freelance voice work I source through Upwork, and I think I can access Upwork without a VPN. But all of my work all my deliverables I deliver to clients through Google Drive, which I cannot access without a VPN, nor can I access Dropbox or any file sharing or cloud services outside of China are inaccessible without a VPN. And none of the Chinese cloud services are accessible from outside of China. So no, if they ever actually kill VPNs, no, I will not be able to access Discord or Twitch, or Google or Facebook or Twitter or probably my Amazon account. Yeah, none of those things. But they won't ever get rid of VPNs. If they wanted to do that already, they would have done so already. If that was ever on their agenda. And I mean, they can't really. They can't really. I mean, they could technically, but then they would probably have to get rid of them for everybody, and that includes themselves. And they won't do that. They need VPNs. The government here uses VPNs to bypass the Great Firewall of China. Um, just between you, me, and the 5 or 6 government agencies listening in, um, they have warehouses full of people whose only job is to go online on foreign websites and shitpost, basically, propagandize discussion forums and Facebook posts and They're called the Wu Mao Army. Wu Mao is like 50 cents, the 50-cent army. Actually, Wu Mao is half a yuan, so it's actually 10 cents is what it works out to, more or less, between 5 and 10 cents US. Um, they're called that because they get, in stories and legend anyway, they get paid 5 Mao for every post that they make. So they go on they find posts and articles and everything they can find to do with China, or anything that might affect the view of China to the Western world, or any complaints and criticisms of China in particular. Any criticisms of China they come down on and just sort of inundate the comment section with a bunch of silly nonsense. And post lots of propaganda posts and things. So yeah, that those people would need VPNs. VPNs would need to work, or to be possible for them anyway. And that's a major part of China's foreign policy, is shit posting on the internet. So yeah, and if it's possible for their VPNs to work, then it's technically possible for other VPNs to work. The only way to cut them all off completely is to cut them all off completely, and they could do that. I'm pretty sure that would be possible. At least the way VPNs work currently, that would be possible. They know who the VPN companies are. They know what their IP addresses are, and it would be fairly trivial to kill them all, actually. But they haven't. They haven't so far. Been using VPNs for 10 years, 15 years. Geez, yeah, 15 years. I didn't for a long time, actually. This is an interesting... Well, I don't know. It interests me anyway. I've always been an online kind of guy, a technologically savvy dude. I used to play MUDs, telnetting in, and text-based role-playing games. We've talked about that before. Female writer, you played MUDs back in the day too, right? Doing an Archie search or a Gopher, opening up a Gopher session so I can browse the early internets. I mean, I've been programming and building computers since high school. And then I moved to China in 2004, which was just before Facebook started, really. So I go from, being a complete and utter, online computer geek. We used to network games together back in high school with our 14.4 modems. Wing Commander 2, Wing Commander 3. I don't remember which one had co-op play, or head-to-head. Head-to-head. We used to shoot the snot out of each other. But you only go like two people at a time because you had to connect to each other's computers. And then I moved here, and the internet was very rudimentary here compared to back home. So there's no EverQuest, no World of Warcraft. That same friend of mine that I mentioned, anyway, my guitar player, Craig, he donated to me an old Toshiba laptop that he didn't use anymore. This huge thing. It was like most of the weight in my suitcase was that laptop that I used for computing purposes at the time, and it was better than no computer. It was pretty good to have, actually. I didn't have a laptop, and I couldn't afford a laptop, so that was wonderful. But I was not playing any games on it, that's for sure. And smartphones didn't exist. The iPhone hadn't been invented yet. All of those things. So there was no. This is a long-winded way of saying that I missed out on the development of a lot of like the social media stuff back in the West, because you couldn't get to Facebook from here. I mean, you could for about 6 months, and then you couldn't. Twitter was blocked pretty much before I knew it existed. So all of these Western social media things I didn't catch on with them. When smartphones started happening, the only services I could get to were Chinese ones, and my Chinese wasn't very good at the time anyway. And my reading and writing are still not great in Chinese. So, I mean, Chinese web services and social media were not really something that I ever took part in either. So I may be one of the last few people that, you know, I look at this thing maybe 5, 6 times a day tops, and that's it. I put it to the side, and if I get a dingle, I check it, but I don't get dingles that often. Um, and I mean, now that I can access all of those sites, but the time zones. I mean, Twitter is a real time kind of platform. Things happen on Twitter, and there's community and stuff posts. If you got to be in the same time zone as the people you're dealing with on Twitter, otherwise it just doesn't really work. It's not an asynchronous kind of thing. At least that's my experience with it. You know, posting something and then checking back tomorrow. That's not how Twitter works. Not really. You know, Facebook is more like that, but again, that's where us grandpas hang out, right? Facebook. All of the currently active and viable social media is real time, and I'm 12 to 16 hours offset from North America. So the only time, I think I mentioned this before when I was trying to figure out when I should stream, the only time where the UK and North America are all awake really is 4:30 in the morning here. So if I wanted to be active on social media outside of China, it would have to be in the middle of the night. And I actually considered getting up at 4 in the morning to stream and write, but that's not going to happen. We've established very clearly that that's not going to happen. So, it's almost 11. Is it an hour and a half? Well, a little over an hour. Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time to do some writing. Eardrops, huh? Poor kitty. Do 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 do. Do 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 boo. All right. So, yes, mission. All right. And what else do I want to do with this? Um, hmm. Da, da, ba, 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 da. I really should have roasted coffee yesterday. Oh. All right, so I want to build system attention, establish character and setting, establish stakes. All right. Geez, seriously. I will also be right back. Biology break. Seriously. Every time. And I'm back. Sorry. Had a little chat with the spouse. She's going out for lunch, and I got her to get her to pick up some tortillas on the way home so we can have burritos tonight for supper. Woohoo! Okay. Let's structure this scene, shall we? Before we get too far in. Okay. And I can do that. Progress bar. What's my line spacing like on this? I prefer that. Easier to see. All right. So, no, I want. Seriously? That's broken. Okay. So, structure it this way. Yeah, so I have a progress bar. The time remaining thing, countdown. It's a countdown, basically. For the scene. And I'll have intermissions between little backstory fill-ins and exposition-y things. And okay, and we've got okay, and then the team, and then then what? Then what? Then what? Then what? The team. And then right. There's my scene. It occurs to me that in my writing classes for the past 10 years, I've been really championing outlining as a necessary tool. I mean, I know pantsers. I know. For some, and I mean, okay. I think I've addressed this before, but I'll do so again now, just to, yeah, because yeah. In my writing classes and in my Skillshare class, my writing class on Skillshare and Udemy, I talk about this briefly. And if you're a discovery writer, if you're an adventure writer, whatever you want to call it, if you write by the seat of your pants and figure out your story as you go along, fine, great. If you enjoy that process, if that's what you like about writing, then yes, do that. That's fine. And when I say that plotting out or planning out your story and outlining, let's call it outlining is a necessary tool. I do mean that. It is a necessary tool. You don't have to use that tool all the time, but you should know how to use it if you want to be a serious writer, if you want to make the most of your time when writing in particular. I'm firmly of the opinion that everyone outlines their story. It's just that some people outline their story with a bullet list, like I do. Oh, it's behind my head. You can't even see it. There. Um, I wonder if I can... Maybe I should do something a little bit different with my setup. My screens. Anyway, yeah, everyone outlines their story. It's just some people do it with a bullet list, and some people do it with a first draft. And it took me 30 seconds to do the bullet list. It would take months to do a first draft. Maybe not a first draft of this scene, but I could bullet list outline this entire story in an afternoon, 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, 2 to 3 hours probably. I could go through, I might do that actually, and outline bullet list this entire story. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Anyway, so in my writing classes, my in-person, my high school English writing classes, and my online class, I talk about the importance of outlining and the benefits of it. If you're writing for the joy of the process and you enjoy wandering around in your story, figuring out what it's about as you put prose on page, great, do that. No one, I'm certainly not, I'm not going to say no one's telling you not to. Some people are. I'm not telling you not to. If you want to get done your story, if that sort of wandering around process is less important to you than telling your story effectively, then, sorry, it's time to medicate the writer with his antacids. If you want to be a professional writer, well, no, maybe not. I don't think that's where the line gets drawn. Sorry about the chewing. I don't think that's where the line gets drawn or where the distinction should be made. Because lots of professional writers are very happy being discovery writers. Stephen King comes to mind. He's obviously not suffering. But it takes him a really long time to write a book. And if you want to be a professional writer, it should be part of your business model. Fair enough. I have a feeling that you and I are in the same boat on that score, because, and it might be down to experience. I feel like we've both started a lot more stories than we've finished. I've written the first 3 or 4 chapters of a lot of books. I've never written the last chapter of a book, not of a novel. So, yeah, if you want to write professionally, then part of being a writer then becomes a business. And if you're a business, you want to produce, you want to produce quality stuff, but you want to produce that quality stuff as quickly and efficiently as possible. The more books you have, the more books you sell, right? If it takes you 2 years to write a book, your chances of making it as a writer are pretty slim. I've mentioned before, I know a lot of romance writers on Facebook mostly, which is where I do most of my social media hanging out. And romance writers are, generally speaking, a prolific bunch. They put out 3 to 5 novels a year, most of them. The professionals, the active professional romance writers will put out, anywhere from 4 to 8 novels a year. 2 months for a novel. And you can't do that if you're a discovery writer. You just can't. Most people can't. I suppose it's possible, and I don't want to. I should stop speaking so much in absolutes, I guess. But it's unlikely anyway. It's much more likely that you can pump out a good story, a good novel length story, in a couple of months if you are a planner, if you outline. This is a known thing. This statement by itself is not contentious. If I were to say you should do it this way and not the other way, that becomes contentious. But they both serve purposes. They both serve different purposes, and it depends on what your goals are. If your goal is to enjoy wandering around in a story and enjoy your process, and that's the part of the process you enjoy, then that's your goal, and then discovery writing is your thing. Great. The quality of your book, let's just say that you can get the same quality of book either way. You can get the same quality of book either way, pantsing or plotting, but it'll take you a lot longer to get there as a pantser than it will as a plotter. It just will. If you're writing for school or other, deadline related things, then outlining is a necessity. Absolutely. When I was freelancing, writing, 5-6 blog posts a day, if I didn't outline, I couldn't get it done. And then here I am trying to just start writing this thing without even figuring out the plot in general, never mind planning out my scenes. Bad me. Fair enough. I'm a writer, but I don't see myself as an author. No big plans with my writing other than for a small audience. Yep, fair enough. And that's something else that I talked about a few streams ago, I think. People will tell you shouldn't write unless you plan to be a best-selling novelist or something. And that's stupid. That's ridiculous. Yeah, fair enough. I'm I'm on the fence about that, about the spark you're talking about, the motivation, the muse, the inspiration. While the inspiration strikes. There's a whole bunch of clever little sayings. Then, oh hey, Masked Emerald. Hello, hello. I mean, yeah. Sometimes you plan, sometimes you don't. Fair enough. And I I plan, but I don't always follow the plan. I'm not afraid to deviate. It's a structure that I can work from. It's not a set of immutable laws of nature that must be followed and you have no choice. I mean, I'm I'm famous. Well, I'm not famous. I'm not famous at all, but I'm well known amongst the people who know me for making a plan and then deviating immediately from that plan. So, I'll outline and then I'll change it because I had a better idea or I want to go that way instead. I mean, there's room even in the planning world. Nobody is all one or all the other, right? Very few people sit down to start writing a story with no idea about anything. No characters, no setting, no idea what kind of story they want to write, what genre. Nobody sits down to write like that. Not really, I don't think. Very, very few people, if any. And likewise, nobody sits down and outlines a story in whatever level of detail and then does not deviate from that plan no matter what. That just doesn't happen either. Everyone's in the middle somewhere. It's just which side of things do you tend to fall on, I guess. I was going to say, for inspiration and the muse and the spark and all those. Yeah, I understand the role they play in the psyche of a creative person. I don't personally have much use for them myself, but I understand the role they play and how they work. There's a lot of very clever phrases and sayings and things from very clever people, um, regarding regarding what was it, inspiration versus perspiration, that kind of thing, or Many people fail to recognize opportunity because it shows up in overalls and looks like work, things like that. Um, Writers who get things done tend to be the kind that sit down, whether they feel inspired or not, and do stuff. Maybe it's not much today compared to yesterday, and maybe tomorrow will be better, but you sit down anyway and you do stuff. You put the work in, butt in chair, right? Um, and I can't speak to that with direct experience in writing because I've never managed to maintain a writing schedule. This is the longest I've ever maintained a writing schedule, and I haven't gotten much writing done. So that tells you everything you need to know about that. But in terms of my work, my other work, my day job stuff, my building of my company and my freelance work and all of those things, yeah, you got to sit in your chair and you got to get the work done, even if you don't feel like it. And that's how things get done. Um, a grain of sand is a grain of sand, and by itself doesn't mean much. But if you've got 100 billion of them, you have a beach. Sand versus clay, as in more or less firm in terms of your plan. Yeah, fair enough. That reminds me of Anne McCaffrey, the Harper Hall series in particular, before they developed paper again. um, the sand tables where they would score out music and then press clay into it to preserve it. I like that analogy, though. I like that metaphor. It's not really a metaphor, is it? Well, it's analogy metaphor. I like that. I like that way of looking at it. Oh, it might be time to change my server after all. We're getting more and more dropouts. We'll hold off for now. I'm going to move this over here where I can see it all the time. And it's not in my way. So, yeah, I mean, I plan. I'm a planner. A lot of the time, that's as far as I get with a story, because once I've planned it out, it's pretty much done in my head, right? I know how it goes. And then the push to get the story out is lessened. It's like they say, you shouldn't tell anybody about your story before you've written it, right? You shouldn't explain your story or synopsize it or tell people what you're working on until you've written it, because once you've told the story, then the push, the urge to tell the story is abated somewhat anyway, and you'll be less inclined to sit down and write the damn thing. And I can sort of see that a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm getting messages on my phone that I thought I should check. Oh, that was just that. Right. Oh, yes. While I'm thinking of it, I should send my lovely wife a list of things to pick up while she's out, because I want to make burritos for supper tonight. Haha. All right. Tortillas. I guess that's kind of the point. I love talking about my stories too, just in general. But I do find that if I've had an audience for a story that I'm working on, and I've told them the story effectively, even if it's only in part, for a while anyway, I feel less interested in writing it. I've just told the story effectively. I've gone through all the parts of the story and delivered some version of that story, even if it's in brief and in synopsis. And I don't feel as strong a push to get the story out, right? Telling the story to a person is, in terms of like brain chemistry, very similar, if not the same, as telling the story to the page. Similar, not identical and not the same, but similar. Um, so yeah, I do find that I feel a less urgent need to tell the story to the page if I've told it to a person recently. So I do try not to get too in depth in my stories. When someone asks me what I'm working on, I might give them a bit of like an elevator pitch, or the setup, the premise, things like that. But I won't get into a blow by blow, play by play telling of the story sort of thing. Tomatoes, not tissues, tomatoes. And no, tomatoes, thank you. My autocorrect keeps. Yeah, well, that's what they say, right? Write with the door closed, edit with the door open. Of course, they also say write drunk and edit sober. I don't think that's a very good suggestion at all. I'd rather do both of them sober for the most part. Maybe a little tipsy once in a while. I'm not against the odd beer or three, but yeah. Where I really get bent out of shape, what really burns my buttons. I like the way that sounds. I'm not sure what it means, but what really annoys me is that I don't have any adjectives to describe it that don't involve words I probably shouldn't use, but the idea of the tortured artist, that you must suffer for your art, that to be a good writer or a good painter or a good whatever creatively, you have to be a miserable, depressed, sad, dysfunctional human being. Oh, I hate that idea. That's such a damaging idea. It's not true, not even remotely true. You can be a perfectly well-functioning member of society and also be an artist, I think. Maybe I'm just telling myself that. I mean, to be a good artist, I think you probably have to have an unhealthy attachment to the truth and to truth in general. But yeah, the idea that you have to be weird and dysfunctional and in the throes of depression all the damn time, or manic depressive, or bipolar, or hear voices, or whatever. You have to be somehow effectively mentally ill in order to be an artist. Ugh. No, that's not right. It's just not right. And it bothers me, the number, especially, I mean, as a teacher for so long, the number of young people who absorb that nonsense and internalize it, and those who want to be artists, who want to be graphic artists, or writers or dancers or singers or whatever, and they've internalized this idea that they have to be messed up in order to be good at it. They lean into their illness or their issues rather than trying to deal with them and function and cope well with the world. We're all weird and wonderful, aren't we? I mean, myself personally, I tend to be very blunt and very direct, and have a perhaps unhealthy regard for the truth, or for truth in general, capital T. I don't know if you can't hear it, and a very strong negative reaction to dishonesty and falsehood, and even the social lubrication kind, the little white lies that everyone seems to resort to in order to make their lives a bit simpler and easier. I've got no truck with any of that, no patience for that. If you're at work and some project isn't doing what it was supposed to do, pretending it is just to save people's feelings, nah, to hell with that. That's not doing anybody any favors. I've never been able to find any situation or think of any situation in which a lie makes things better, where telling a purposeful falsehood makes anything better. Oh, okay. I accidentally hit my speech to text button when I picked my phone up. I was wondering why it was suddenly typing. I don't want it to. Oh yeah, what do I need? I need vegetable shopping, grocery shopping here. Tortillas, tomatoes. I should take out some cheese then from the freezer. Lettuce. No, do I need lettuce? No, I don't need lettuce. Tomatoes, carrots. I'm going to use some purple cabbage for the crunchy bits instead of lettuce. It's better for you anyway, has more nutrition. Tortillas, tomatoes, carrots. Okay. I think I have everything else I need. Sour cream would be nice, but that's not going to happen. I live in China. I actually, this is something that I've actually quite enjoyed about living in China for so long, is that there's a lot of stuff that you just can't get or can't get easily. These days you can get most things. When I came here, 17 some years ago, there was a lot of stuff you just couldn't get. Western style things. And sour cream is still, you can only find it a few places, and the places you can find it is really expensive. I mean, for sour cream, it's really expensive. And I don't want to buy sour cream that's been shipped all the way over here from Germany or wherever. That's just silly. So what I generally do is I bought a little yogurt maker, like one of those little overnight yogurt makers where it just maintains a constant temperature. You put your milk in and your bacteria from the packet, stir it up, and then come back, 8 to 12 hours later, and you've got yogurt. So what I do for sour cream is I make yogurt, and then I strain the yogurt to make Greek yogurt, which is pretty much sour cream, really. Slightly different taste, but similar texture and use case. So if you strain it the right amount, I usually overstrain it and make really, really thick Greek yogurt, and then I add back some of the whey till I get the consistency I want. And that's what I do for sour cream. So if we're having pierogies or mostly pierogies, which I make with mashed potato and Chinese dumpling skins, which are easy to get here. Not the same dough, not the same dough at all, but it's functionally the same, and it's close enough that I don't notice, especially with my fried onions and my sour cream on it. Yum. It might be time to make some of those again. So yeah, I make my own sour cream. I roast my own coffee. Not because I'm a coffee snob, I'm certainly not, but because it's much, much cheaper than buying pre-roasted coffee beans here, because they're hard to find as well and tend to be very expensive. Like a kilo of beans from Starbucks would be 380, almost 400 yen, which would be $80, $80 US, something like that. So call it, yeah, call it 400 yen. It's 380, I think, last time I tried it, or last time I checked. But I buy wholesale unroasted beans from a guy in Yunnan, grown in China, harvested here. They're local beans as far as that goes. And I pay less than 40 yuan per kilo from him. So it's like 10% the cost of Starbucks beans, which I don't like anyway, for the most part. I can roast them in small batches, so it's fresh when I drink it. I can roast it to the darkness I want this week or this couple of days even. They are not the best beans. They are the cheapest beans you'll ever find in your life anywhere, and that's for a reason. They're not high quality. They have a bit of a sour berry taste to them that if you roast them lightly, so I don't. I did order some. I got some Blue Mountain beans once and roasted those, and that was probably the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. It was beautiful. Those beans were beautiful. Had a nice light roast, and you could taste all of the complexity of the bean. It was a beautiful, beautiful batch of coffee, but it's also much more expensive than the beans I buy. And I am at heart cheap. So when I started roasting, I was drinking a lot more coffee than I do now as well. I've been trying to cut down. I still have some celery, so I need that. So tortillas. I'm still doing the shopping list. Tortillas, tomatoes, and carrots, actually. It's probably all I need. Other vegetables like radishes and stuff. There, that'll do. My go-to snack are those. I think I mentioned before those big long white daikon radishes. Um, I just chop them up into batons and eat those the way they are. With actually a little tiny bowl with some salt and pepper in it. Every two or three of them, I dip a little, get a bit of salt going on there. Probably not great for my health, but honestly, I might be the only, well, I don't know how old, I got a cousin, I'm not sure how old he is anymore, but I might be the only member of my extended family, on my dad's side anyway, over 30 and under 200 pounds. That's a possibility. We tend towards largeness um, in my family, and I attribute a lot of that to just the lifestyle difference here. We don't eat a lot of prepackaged foods here. We don't eat a lot of processed foods in any, like, it's vegetable market, it's farmers market all the time. That's where you buy your food. And the supermarket tends to be a lot of, they have a every supermarket that I've been to here, pretty much half of it is a produce section because that's what people buy. They used to, they don't anymore, not since that big bird flu outbreak a few years back, but they used to have live poultry in the supermarkets, in most supermarkets. Anything over a certain size. I mean, you have little hole in the wall supermarkets with just a, like a three or four aisle produce section and some dry goods. And then there's little vegetable shops and fruit shops that sell one or the other, and usually some dry goods and things like that. But it's all ingredients here. It's not frozen foods and canned foods. You can find like canned soups and stuff in a couple of the larger, like, wholesale club style, like Costco, those kind of places that sell to restaurants. But in a regular supermarket, I don't think you're able to find like Campbell's canned soups. They don't sell them. You can find powdered soups like soup mix, that kind of thing. And, instant noodles, like Ichiban style instant noodles are everywhere. But um, for for meals and stuff, yeah, frozen pizzas, not much. You can get them, but there's maybe like two options in the frozen food section, and the rest of it is all like dumplings and stuff. I guess that's the equivalent here would be like dumplings, jiaozi and baozi and mantou, the steamed bread. Um, Baozis are the filled buns, like the pork buns or the red bean buns. I'm getting hungry. Anyway, so there's a lot of those kind of things, like, but those are things that you steam to cook them, and you don't eat them that often. I mean, you might have, a lot of people have baozis every day for breakfast kind of thing, but it's like a steamed bread with meat and vegetables and stuff inside. I think still probably a lot healthier than a lot of the you know packaged processed foods back in North America. But those are not that common. Generally speaking, it's ingredients to food. You buy ingredients, you make food. So the diet here that the food that I eat is much much healthier than it would have been back in Canada. Um, Also, we tend to move around a lot more, or at least most people do. Walking and biking are very common ways of getting around the city, as opposed to driving everywhere. Most neighborhoods here in the city where I live, anyway, most neighborhoods have a bit of everything that you need. There's a neighborhood vegetable market, two or three of them usually, neighborhood fruit shops, bakeries, and those kind of things. And it's all sort of like high street, like UK high street kind of thing, rather than shopping mall, which is more common in North America. So like you'd go out with your shopping bags or bag or your cart, depending. And you just walk over to the vegetable market, pick up your vegetables, stop by the fruit shop because it's just next door, and then go over to the bakery, pick up some bread or whatever you want, and you're basically walking around the neighborhood. And this is something you generally do every day or every 2 days. At least it used to be before COVID. A lot of people still do that. We don't leave the house much, other than my son to go to school. Um, I work from home. My wife works from home, so we order our vegetables delivery. They come to the door in half an hour or so from the place just down the road that we could walk to just as easily, but we don't. Um, what we found was when we had to order delivery because everyone was on lockdown in the initial stages of the COVID thing, we found that it's only very slightly more expensive to order than it is to buy it at the shop. But the quality seems to be much higher. Like they tend to choose the better stuff for the delivery orders. I guess it's because the grannies who go to the shop and buy, pinching the tomatoes and all that stuff, they don't actually care that much, most of them, about top quality. They're not that picky. Most of them aren't that picky. I mean, they're not buying rotten stuff, but, you know, if there's a blemish on that tomato, or, there's a slug has been chewing on the end of this cucumber, they might ask the shop owner to cut off that little chunk and not pay for it because they're not going to use it. It's by weight, of course. But they're not going to not buy that cucumber just because there's a bit of bug chomping on the one end of it or something like that. So yeah. Anyway, I think I'm not healthy by any stretch, but I'm as healthy as I am, mostly because of the difference in lifestyle. So yeah, radishes as snacks, or occasionally I do a mix, little carrot batons and cucumber, not so much. I'm not a big fan of the old cucumber as a snack, but celery, the big radishes, yeah, I love those. And there's some green ones they have here that are gorgeous. They're actually fairly sweet, as well as having that radishy zing to them. Lovely. Carrots, radish, celery. Celery's a good one. Jicama, once in a while, I'll buy a jicama and chop that up, or cabbage. Actually, I don't mind. I know this is weird. I don't mind raw cabbage as a snack either. Just by itself, a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe. Deconstructed coleslaw, I guess, with no dressing. In particular, the stem, like the middle, the core, I guess that's called, of the cabbage. I'll chop that out and just and slice that up and eat it. Yeah, I know, I'm weird and wonderful. That's what I am. But those are my go-to snacks. It's what I enjoy for the most part. I mean, I'm a pig for some potato chips too. I mean, don't get me wrong. And every once in a while, I do go a bit nutty on the potato chips. So buy 5 or 6 bags and eat them in a day. This happens. This is a thing that I do. But I have been eating popcorn instead of potato chips because salty crunchy. That's my jam. That's my weakness, if I want to call it that. I crave salty and crunchy a lot more than sweet. I don't have a sweet tooth. So popcorn has been my go-to thing because, as they say, and if you research best snacks for losing weight and maintaining your girlish figure and stuff like that, low calorie, high volume foods, right? You want to fill yourself up with as few calories as possible. And I will make a big mixing bowl, like a large mixing bowl of popcorn, 2 batches on the air popper. Air popping, I've switched. I used to have like a big popcorn pot with a turny handle that would stir the popcorn in the bottom, and I would make popcorn in that. But that's not as healthy. There's a lot of oil involved in that. So I got an air popper, and I also got a spray bottle for oil, like a high pressure spray bottle. And so I make a double batch of popcorn in my big mixing bowl, and then I use my spray bottle to spray 6 to 8 sprays of oil while mixing, just so the salt will stick to it. A little bit of low sodium salt, some black pepper sometimes. I like my salt and pepper. And I actually season the popcorn either with dill, which is lovely. I know it's not that common, but I like it that way. Or I season it with taco seasoning, like slightly spicy, onion powdery, garlicky taco seasoning, like a mixed. I think I've got McCormick taco seasoning right now. And that's my big go-to snack. I've kind of eased off on it lately. I'm out of popcorn at the moment. I didn't order any more yet because I was eating too much of it. I want to stop eating so late at night. I should go to bed instead, right? It's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm making a snack. I should probably just go to bed. But, so yeah, you know what I'm going to do, actually? I think I am going to. Oh, dill is great. I make my own pickles. I make my own mustard. I learned how to make mustard because it's hard to find mustard here and it's expensive as well. But mustard seed is cheap and plentiful. Imagine that. So, and making mustard, like preparing a mustard sauce from mustard seed, is actually pretty simple. I've got a mortar and pestle that I use. Just grind up the seed to a powder. I use a mix of powder and seed. Add whatever other spices you want to flavor the mustard beyond just the mustard. I mean, you can use just mustard. That's pretty much what, like, that French's mustard, that American style mustard, is really just mustard seed. Hit it with a bit of vinegar and some water. And the temperature of the water will determine how zingy the mustard is. Hot water makes a milder mustard, if I remember correctly. I haven't made it in a while. Cold water maintains the zing. So a little bit of sugar, a little bit of vinegar for a bit of extra kick, and some water to the right consistency. You want it to be, generally it'll firm up over time, so you want it to be a little bit liquidy compared to how you want to use it. Let it sit in the fridge for a couple of days to mellow and blend and get tasty, and you've got yourself some mustard. Easy. And we're talking like 10 minutes of work and a couple of days of waiting to have mustard at home. I should make some more. We're out of mustard, and I do like my mustard. It's also really good for like making vinaigrettes and salad dressings and stuff, because mustard is a good prepared mustard is a great emulsifier for a vinaigrette. I'm actually not aware of anything else commonly available that works for that. So if you want to keep your vinegar and your oil from separating, keep them together long enough to eat your salad anyway, a little dollop of mustard in there will go a long way. And that's Cooking with Mike. It's coming up on lunchtime and I am hungry. But yeah, no, a lot of one of the things I've really enjoyed about living in China for the last almost 2 decades is having to do things for myself, having to learn how to make stuff from scratch. I mean, I've always enjoyed cooking, mostly because I enjoy eating. But yeah, learning how to roast coffee was, I really enjoyed that. Learning how to make mustard, learning how to make sour cream, well, how to make yogurt, and then I've got those skills in my pocket. If I need to do something or make something, I can. Great. I bought a sous vide setup a while back, and we used it a few times. I haven't used it since because it is a fair bit of hassle, and for just the 3 of us, my wife and my youngest, it's a lot of hassle. It's not generally worth the hassle for just the 3 of us. It's nice. The results you get are very nice once you dial some things in. I did a roast beef in there once that was some of the best beef I've ever had, let alone cooked. Followed Alton Brown's recipe and process, and it was phenomenal. But yeah, probably not worth the effort and planning and time involved most of the time. Generally, when I cook supper, for example, it's quick and easy. I do a lot of fried rice, and I do a lot of, I call it tasty rice, because it's not fried rice. It's much wetter than that, and it's not joe or congee or any of those things, because it's not cooked the right way for that. In Chinese, it would be called pao fan. It's it's like you take a soup or like a slightly thickened soup, like a stew or a soup, and you add rice to it. You put cooked rice in it, and then sort of mix it together and reduce it down till it's sort of like a Joe consistency. Joe is like Chinese rice porridge, sort of like a Joe consistency. The rice is starting to dissolve a bit and releasing starch into the stuff, so it's thickening from that, and it's reducing, and the flavors are constant. It's lovely. So I make that a lot for dinner. That's what we had for supper last night. Actually, I do a lot of curries. I do a lot of one pot cooking. Actually, I just find it simpler and quicker and easier and tasty. So you might notice I had a WeChat message. Okay, I'm not sure why that sticker. WeChat is the Chinese version of WhatsApp. This is the sticker my wife sent me. Chubby baby. Anyway, so for this story, I think what I'm going to do today, for this part of today, I'm going to go through, yeah, got 20 minutes, give or take. I'm going to go through and I'm going to, do I want to outline all of the scenes first and then start writing them? Or do I want to plot, write? Decision time. Because I kind of want to write this scene now that I've plotted it out. But I also would like to have the whole part one plotted. The writer's dilemma. The writer's dilemma. What do I do? What do I do? There are only 3 lights. 4 lights. I don't remember how that works. I've never seen the scene that I'm referencing. I just remember that it exists. Cold Earl Grey. Yum. No, and I never responded to that. Writing makes me happy too. Well, yes, no, I think I can honestly say that now. There was a time where I wouldn't have been able to say that, really. Um, I was one of those people who liked to have written, but not the writing. Was it Dorothy Lessing, I think? I hate writing, but I love to have written. Something along those lines. But I actually enjoy the writing part now, especially with my keyboard. My new springy keyboard. Yum yum. All right, so celebrate good times. Come on. Do 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 do. There's a party going on down here. It's a celebration. Anyway. No copyright strikes. Now that's in my head. So, 2 days of processing time. I gotta be consistent here, logically consistent. 30 minutes remaining with 40% left to go. Doesn't sound... That wouldn't make sense for, we'll say, a day. 27 hours. Okay, so I want this to take most of the afternoons. Call it 6 hours. 6 hours. So that'd be 30... Let's call it 35 hours. 8 hours left. So... And then what percentage would that be? So 8... So 78%, 79%. So not too far off. There we go. So I think I've decided to write this scene. I think that's where I'm coming down. I'm a goof. That's what I can do. I will promise myself, pinky promise, if I can get all my audio editing done today, then I can spend this evening planning out scenes. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say Masked Emerald. When I tell other people about my story, it drains them of the will to live, usually. I tend to be long-winded and they get bored, and they never ask me about my stories again. Most of the time. So I'm glad your experience is different. I'm very familiar with the glazed eyes of the person I'm talking to. Hey, Amanda Panda Sensei! Konnichiwa. Genki desu ka? Who else is here? I'm just checking my chat list again. Ladybug X3. That sounds like a non-bot. I bet you that's a real person. A real person who might just be persuaded to say hello in the chat. I'm looking. I'm checking. Ah, Christina. Hi, Christina. I see you. I see you there. Wow, so we've got lots of... That's Sofacal. Sofacal was a bot, wasn't it? Let me see. Oi. He looks like a bot, yeah. So, let's do this thing. Bye. Who else? Apple pie chart. Doing some... I'm noticing a trend here. I just said I'm going to write this scene, and immediately I start cleaning out the bots. Well, shows up on a Twitch bot list, therefore. Bye, Apple Pie Chart. Gone. Gone. Amanda Panda Sensei is not a bot. She's a person. Apple Pie Chart. I watched your stream a little bit. I think it was a video, actually, not a live stream. But I watched a bit of your show the other day, yesterday. Emerald. Sofa. Okay, so I think we're unbotted for now. So for well, I guess Ladybug X3. Ladybug times 3. 3 ladybugs. Are you 3 ladybugs in a trench coat? Is that the origin of the name? Hope you'll consider following so that you're alerted when I go live, which is at the moment 3 times a week. Oh yeah, we'll do a subscribe break. If you're watching on VOD or if you're new to the stream, feel free to follow the stream so you'll be notified whenever I go live. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to do the dingle dingle down there and hit the bell and subscribe and like and all that stuff. if that's your thing. If that's the kind of thing you're likely to do, then don't forget to do that thing. And now we return you to your regularly scheduled silliness. All right. Yeah, okay, so now we know progress bar. But he couldn't help. Let's do that. New parent. What happened there? Ah. All right. Yeah. Okay, so it's funny, I'm just noticing this now. It's been so long since I did any significant writing on my writing stream that I didn't notice my head cam is too big. It's blocking my words. So that's actually fairly easy to fix. Ha! I can do that right now like this. I can even move myself down a little bit. Make half. Oh no. Ah. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. Such a geek. All right. I got to make it visually appealing, right? As best I can. Anyway, so we'll make my face a bit, shrink my head a bit. I've got a big head, or so I've been told. I am an idiot. All right. All right. I suppose that's hyphenated. All right. Oh, okay. Let me take a quick peek here. View, editor layout. Nope. Show visibles. Okay. This was something I discovered last night while browsing around in tutorials and things. Because sometimes I had a few places where I had some odd spacing when I compiled, like line spacing, and I discovered some extra line breaks that shouldn't have been there. So show invisibles, text editing. I don't need them now. All right. You know what? I'm still in the way. Should I put myself there? I'll be right in the middle. Hi, I'm right in the middle of my screen. Yeah, I'll go over here above my chat. But now I'm looking over here at the text. That doesn't work anymore. I need to look down to look at my text, but my text is over there on my screen, really. I'm losing my vraisemblance. Terrible. Really, I should be here. I'm spending way too much time thinking about this. Then if I look there at it looks like I'm looking at my words. Right? Right? Yeah. That's about where my face is in relation to my actual screen, so. Except I'm actually over here. But you can't see me then, so I gotta whoop, whoop, whoop. I love OBS. I think I'll put myself slightly off screen there. There, okay. What do you think? Does that work? Are we good there? We don't really need to see my outline, my chapter list and stuff. That's not a cover for my book. Trash it. Move to trash. Dedication. I should actually have a dedication in this book that says your dedication here. All right, I'm going to write this scene. So now I have to have him reflecting on being assigned to this project in the first place. But can't just have him in his head. He's got to be doing something physically too. Is it? It's not possible, is it? There we go. I wonder what happens. This is something I was curious about. Let me. Interesting. Ooh, I don't like this very much. I went full screen on my Scrivener in like writing mode, which gets rid of all the sidebar stuff and the interface and just gives you a dark banner-y thing to write on. And I don't like it. Mostly because I really want to have something approximating a page. Oh, there's a page view. Isn't there? I want... Yeah, they call it composition mode. Is this page view? I don't have enough pages to know if this is page view. Hold on, let me... It probably won't let me... View text editing, show page view. Okay. View text editing. Page view. There we go. Yeah, so it does let me do that. Then I can... I know it shouldn't matter. I should start a new paragraph based on the ideas and blah, 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 blah. But I like to see how chonky a paragraph is on the page. And if it gets too chonky, I know I should probably split it up. And if it's like 1 or 2 lines, maybe I should extend it a bit. I'm not against having a 1-sentence paragraph or whatever. And I should point out, I'm writing in brief, choppy sentences in this section because Emil is fatigued and thinking in short, choppy sentences. He's thinking in short bursts. I'm trying to sort of textually reflect his mental state a bit. Okay, we don't need that word there. I think I'm going to do the character looking in the mirror character looking in the mirror appearance reveal in a moment. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. It makes sense to do it here. What's that? But I'm going to have him wander to there's a bathroom. I mean, this is the sort of the more the administrative side of the lab. That they don't do a lot of the test tubey stuff here. Um, so I've the setup I have in my head is a sort of a two room suite. One is the lab where they they have the airlock and the iron station and all the test tubes and do what are those called? Dewey flasks? Yeah, all the glassware and stuff that they would use in their biochemistry work, and Bunsen burners and all that stuff. Um, and they have a sort of more of an administrative side where they have desks and computers and do their modeling and whatever programming and stuff they need to do and write up their reports and things. So, and he's sitting in the office side of things, and they'll have a little break room attached and a bathroom and some stuff like that. It's sort of a self-contained little office suite area with a lab. So he's gonna make a cup of coffee and then forget about the cup of coffee when he goes. He's gonna wash his face and check himself out in the mirror at some point. It's a bit too choppy, but that's what we can do. We can ellipse that. No coffee. So, how many staff are there in this team? How many people? Figure. Now, this is where I probably should have done more research than I have so far. I don't know how biotech companies. Oh, excuse me. I don't know how biotech companies structure their research departments. 8. Okay, there's 8. Trying to think what kind of roles they would have. Well, we'd probably have. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to stay away from that very fictional 8 on a side. It is like the infinity symbol. Um, yeah, I'm certainly trying to stay away from the trope of the lonely scientist, the lone scientist, the lone inventor solving the world's problems in a lab by himself. And he's not crazy, I tell you, not crazy at all. Um, that's not how anything really works and never has been. Not really. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Nikola Tesla, but I know that Thomas Edison had a whole team of people doing most of the work, and he did most of the publicity. Um, for some reason, and this is still in my head whenever I think about Thomas Edison. Now, when I was a young boy, I read about Thomas Edison, and I read that he did most of his inventing and his work in a place called Menlo Park. And in my head, that meant like a park with trees and flowers and grass and things, a park, and a footpath, and maybe cyclists and rollerbladers and stuff. Or I guess roller skaters. This would have been in the 70s still, probably. So in my head, I had this idea that his lab was in a park, like a city park. And the image that my brain produced for me of that was that the entrance to his lab was a tree. Like he had a lab in a tree. Like there's a hidden door in a tree that he went in through to get to his lab to invent stuff. Similar to like what the the entrance to the pit of despair in The Princess Bride, although this predates The Princess Bride, I'm sure. This picture in my head, but still, every time I think of Thomas Edison, I think of that damn tree and the hidden entrance to his lab in Menlo Park. So, I mean, I had no idea that there was such a thing as like an industrial. Okay. Reconnection successful. All right. Wow. So, and you know, that happened at almost exactly the same time as it did last stream. It just stopped. It just disconnected and wouldn't reconnect. I managed to stay on it on the reconnection and get back in. I couldn't day before yesterday. I wonder why that's going on. No, I'm not muted. I'm not muted. Hold on. Yeah, no. I've got levels showing up on my thinger. Maybe it's more network stuff. Am I still muted? Can you hear me now? Yeah. Yeah, no, okay, cool. It might have been network congestion or buffering or something too. But, okay. I see. I understand. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah, I had this picture in my head of Thomas Edison living in a tree in Menlo Park. Because I'm an idiot. Dark Sky. Hello, Dark Sky. If that is your real name. Oh, Dark Sky. Est-ce que tu parles français? Just a hunch. Go ahead and say hi in the chat, Dark Sky. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Unless you're a bot. But I don't think so. What was I doing? I was writing. Still can't type, though. No. There we go. And we're dropping out again. Son of a gun. No? We're good? Okay. Making me angsty. Just realized I hadn't used the name of my character yet. I should probably do that earlier rather than later so we know what to call this guy. Okay. You know what, actually? I'm getting really hungry. I think I'm going to have to go and make some lunch. It's about 12:30 now. Female writer, you're still up, actually. It's late for you. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I think I'm gonna break off on the stream there. I think I might continue writing a bit. Get this scene done before I move on to my audio editing. But yeah, I need to eat. I'm hungry. So thanks for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I will be back in a couple of days. So if you're watching live, don't forget to follow. If you're watching on VOD or YouTube, don't forget to subscribe or follow or do the things with the stuff. Yeah, me too. I can't wait to read more too. I will. I'm gonna pan fry a couple of chicken breasts and have some leftover tasty rice from last night. Yum yum. All right. Peace out. See you later. Bye. As soon as I get back over there anyway. Okay, bye.